So let's start out talking about providers and what a provider is and how we utilize them. So, first off, we need to talk about user identity. So within VAST, a user identity is going to identify a particular user. User has different identities. It could be a UID number, could be a SID, could be an S3 access key. So these are going to be, these user identifiers need to be looked up. And we're going to use or refer to as a provider to get that information. So VAST does support multiple identity providers. These can be used in different combinations within the system. We support Active Directory. We support OpenLDAP, and OpenLDAP covers really anything that speaks LDAP. So we can utilize OpenLDAP straight. We can use FreeIPA. We can use a couple different variations of that. But so long as it speaks LDAP, we can use it. Then also we support NIS. We're talking NIS, been around for quite a long time, not real heavily used in the industry anymore, but we do have customers that use that. And then we'll talk about very briefly about some local users, how you can define local users on the VAST itself. The providers basically are there to consult and validate identities. So some of the providers can be used for authentication of users, specifically Active Directory can be used to help authenticate users. But for the most part, it's used to identify a user, identify the group membership, identify all their characteristics and all their attributes, and help us go through and do mapping across the different protocols within VAST. So what'll happen is that if I come in over SMB, I want to not only know what groups I'm part of within Active Directory, but I also want to get my identifiers for Unix. I want to get my Unix groups and things like that. So we're going to put all those together. So when I try to access data, regardless of where I created it, how I created it, I'm going to have the same access. Within VAST, all the providers that are configured within the system are configured for the particular access we're trying are going to be consulted, even if I'm only doing single protocol, because VAST is designed to be a multi-protocol platform, multi-protocol data platform, and we want to make sure that if you go through and you're accessing things over one protocol right now, you're going to want to possibly eventually add another protocol in there in the future. So the 4 different providers, as I mentioned, are going to be a local provider for local users, Active Directory, OpenLDAP, or NIS. I kind of already explained what some of these are here, but the providers, unlike some other systems that are out there, the providers within VAST are defined at the cluster level. So even before we go through and we create tenants, we create access rules, we're going to define these providers at the cluster level. And then when we start talking about tenancy, we configure each tenant to utilize a different combination of providers. And the general rules for combining providers are going to be something that has access for SMB, which is going to be an Active Directory provider, plus optionally something that provide POSIX attributes like UID numbers, GID numbers. And this could be, we're going to put those together into a tenant to get all the information we want. So your typical combinations are going to be, any single provider alone. So you can definitely define a tenant or make use of just OpenLDAP or just AD or just NIS. For that. You could do combinations of both, where you could use Active Directory and OpenLDAP together as to help identify users. And this would be the case where you have your Active Directory environment, and maybe you don't have Unix attributes, but you do have Unix attributes stored in OpenLDAP for users, and we want to be able to make use of both of those to give us multi-protocol access. Or the combination of a local provider and an Active Directory provider plus NIS is very similar. Or we can use a local provider where we can make use of things to do some mappings for users that otherwise would not be represented in one protocol or the other. Again, because these providers are defined at a cluster level, we can go through and we can use a single provider across multiple tenants. So we would have a single Active Directory defined at the cluster level with a single computer object within Active Directory, but that object and that provider could be used across multiple tenants. So we don't have to do multiple joins to the same Active Directory. And the way we handle things like SPNs and instances there is that that object would just have multiple SPN instances for things like Kerberos if need be.